Understanding that npm is an amazing utility for all Node applications for managing Node packages. Another cool tool that you should be aware of is npx, which is the Node package executor. So npx, do a search on that, and you'll see here npx at npm. And in here, it tells you about it. And what it is it's a nifty tool that's built into npm, which allows you to execute different npm packages that have binaries or executables in them that we can run. And in a little while, when we learn about React, we'll be using one of these executable packages called create React app, as well as one to create or generate an Express web application, which is Express Generator. For now, though, we're just going to use a simple npx package that we all have access to through npx, and that is the pretty diff. And we're going to go ahead and show how we can use npx to execute npm packages on our local machine immediately without needing to build an application, and we can use those utilities. On my computer, inside of my sandbox, where I've been doing a lot of my development for these screencasts, I have two files here. I have a file 1 and a file 2, and they are simply text files. I have opened up a terminal, and I am in that folder right now with my terminal. So the folder that is in, you can see right here, is npx pretty diff. So npx pretty diff in my terminal. And if I do an ls, I should be able to see that I've got file1.txt and file2.txt. Now, npm allows us to install third-party modules inside of a Node application that we are building, whereas npx allows us to call and execute a Node module without having an application that we are building ourselves and without needing to import the code. In other words, it simply executes it as though it is an executable application on our computer, like a .app if we're on a Mac, or a .exe or .msi if we're on Windows. So we're going to show how we can use npx to execute this pretty diff utility, which is a file differ. In other words, it'll look at two files and find out what the difference is between them with their content. And then it will display what the differences are between those files in a pretty way. So let's go ahead and try that. Instead of writing npm, we write npx, and that tells npm that we're going to be executing that npx utility that gets installed when we install Node, which installs npm, and when we install npm, we get npx automatically. And then really, in order to do this, all we have to do is tell npx that we are going to run the pretty diff app, and we want to diff two particular files. And you know what? Let's go ahead and look up pretty diff so we can see this, and you can see that it is actually a package in npm. So let's do pretty diff. Oops, I spelled it fid instead of diff. So pretty diff right here. Right. Pretty diff. And you can see that it is an npm package that we can install on our machine, but we can also execute it using npx. And let's go ahead and look for our npx usage. So in the terminal, we've got pretty diff in the browser, in Node, and where is our npx version of pretty diff? Let's go ahead and see if we can find it. Let's go to pretty diff's website and look at their actual... No, that's not it either. Let's do a search for npx. Let's do pretty diff. Let's see if we can find somebody that tells us how to do it. All right. Here's one that shows us. So if we go here, okay. So here's how we do diff with npx. So npx pretty diff, and then we just need to supply the file the source file that we want to compare, and then the file that we are going to compare against that source file. So let's pull our terminal back open. Let's make sure we can see our command prompt there. And let's type it. So we have npx, pretty diff, and then we need our source. And then in the form of a string, we're going to pass in file1.txt. And then we need to pass in the file that we want to diff against the source. So we do diff, and then it is file2.txt. And now when we execute this, it's going to go ahead and download and install that npm package, and then it's going to execute it against the two files that we provided. And when it does the execution, it compares those two files, and then it shows us paragraph by paragraph what changed and where it changed. So it said in line 3, we've got a difference. And then in line 5, we've got a difference. We've got a couple of differences. In line 7, we've got a couple differences. And then line 9, several differences. But you can see that we actually executed an npm package directly on our machine, and we got it to run as if it were just a regular application. Now in the future, you're going to run back into NPX, like I said, when we start learning React front ends and when we start building Express API middle tiers for our advanced applications that we're going to be building.